So, LS or low spin drivers. We've got 5 of the big brands. The Titleist has been out a few months, and then the latest releases from TaylorMade, Callaway, Ping and Cobra. And really want to look at which one's lowest spin, which one's longest. That's why you're in one of these heads. You wanted to go miles and you want no spin. So which one does the best? Who's going to win? I know who I think, but we'll see whether it comes out that way. So, got my own shaft that I use, or the same model that I use. Got all the head weights matched to the same dead weight of head, so swing rate's going to be the same as well. They'll have little nuances in terms of how the head's set up, in terms of how they feel to swing and balance. But in terms of getting things as consistent as we can, all the 9-degree heads, all in their standard loft position, all with weight forward as much as possible. And let's give them, we're going to start with the GT4. Let's give them all a go. See which is the bomber. It's a very, very solid feeling here with that weight forward. And actually not, I mean, the slightly high strikes take a bit of spin off. It's not crazy low spin, but pretty good, very consistent yardage. That's a very pretty head to start with as well. So something Titleist has done so well. But will it be the longest? We'll see. So QI35 LS, I think a lot of you may expect this to be the longest. It's certainly, I mean, they're all going to be right up there. It's certainly been very good for it in the past, but how hot will it be? Looking forward to hitting this. So, interesting enough, I kind of feel like this is, I feel like I've got to find the middle of the face with this. It's, the good ones are very good, but it's a bit of a, I think a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde, this one. I think if you get it on the right spot, it absolutely goes. Historically, the QI10, the Stealths before have been a bit weak out the heel. I think we've got the same thing here, but if you get it slightly up the face and toe side, this thing has a low spin bomb in it. So, interesting. I'm not sure overall it's going to be a winner, but if you've got a specific strike point, this could be really, really good for you. But maybe not as easy to strike or find the centre, I think, as some of the other heads. So incidentally, if you like this video and how it's shot, we've done a comparison with the core models across the Cobra TaylorMade, Titleist, Callaway and Ping. So from a consistency and a length point of view. So if you like this format, check out this video and you'll get to look at the core model as well. So moving into the Elyte Triple Diamond, as you'll notice, it's a different colour weight to normal. I've done that, I've put a different weight in to get the mass of the heads matching and the swing weight matching, so it would normally have a black weight in there. That's just a slightly heavier one. It also helps keep the spin down a little bit more. AI Smoke Triple Diamond was a cannon. That was a long head. How is this going to compare? I know from the fitting side of things, have they gone a little safer? We'll see. Certainly seems to be less volatile on spin than the AI Smoke model, but how will it stack up against the others? Actually, last tip there was the best one. I think what we're seeing with this one, the previous model had an absolute bomb in there. Where it's going to be better and more consistent this year, I don't think it's got the same absolute cannon in there, which probably means it's more versatile and going to be a broader appeal. But we're looking for length. We're looking for low spin, absolute all-out yardage. I think you're going to have to go lower loft in this head to get that. So comparing loft against loft, it's solid. Still a bit like the TaylorMade. I still found it a bit harder to dial strike in than actually the Titleist, but it's a more playable head, which is a good thing, but we want long. So let's keep trying. So moving on to the 440 LS. Again, we know Ping are consistent, but are they long? How long is it relative to the others? And can it beat them this year? Yeah, this one a little low on the face, definitely spins a touch more. I think It doesn't launch maybe as high as some of the others, and certainly relative to Ping's other models, maybe a hair lower spin. Having said that, I'm gonna have to feel for strike a little bit. Not that fast. I don't think there's a huge, relative to the other heads, not quite as much speed. I think it isn't quite as knuckly on spin. And certainly it's maybe for my strike point rather than others may find something slightly different. But for me, that's not that long, especially when we're looking at the comparisons of all of these. There will be players this will work brilliantly for, but for me, yeah, okay. So finally into the Cobra DS Adapt LS model. Now actually we were chatting before filming what we thought would be the longest. I actually called this one. Just a gut feel. You know, Cobra have always had a long head in there, and the LS last year was particularly low spin. Wasn't the most forgiving, but when it went, it really went. And actually off the back of what we've seen from the other heads, it's in with a shout. So certainly ease of strike, stability for me, ability to find middle of the face, that's more natural. So the Titleist and this have felt the most natural to strike. And immediately out the gate with this, we saw ball speed pop up relative to the most recent hit. So we'll take a look at the numbers and we'll dive in and we'll let you know which is the longest. Okay, so some actually quite interesting data. And what I was feeling, to how I felt like I struck the heads, and actually the results slightly differed. So I came off hitting the TaylorMade head going, I didn't think I could find the middle of the face particularly. Actually, if I put it on this screen, we'll see the dispersion. The two longest hits by a fraction are with the TaylorMade head because they got the lowest spin. Now I think it was masked by the fact that I didn't really get on with the feel of it. I didn't feel like I could find the face particularly, or the center of the face particularly easily. And maybe that's shown up by a little bit more dispersion out of that one. But actually, you know, the hottest shots out of the TaylorMade are the longest. And these are the ones where, yeah, maybe a little higher on the face, a little toe side, but have knuckled the spin off a bit more. And what were we testing for? Low spin and longest. So actually, on low spin and longest, the QI35 LS wins. And it's good on ball speed, you know, so there's all round, there was a lot of positives for it. I'd just say, for me, it's just not a feel that I enjoyed relative to a couple of the other heads, but it works. So, you know, there was me in the middle of the test going, I didn't think I got the most out of that. Actually, it looks like I did. But when you compare it against the other models, I go back into the averages here, you know, run from first to last. The Titleist, actually for a GT4, the 4 Series has always been horribly unforgiving. Actually, this was pretty good, felt pretty stable, and produced some nice strong spin numbers. And that was a very close second in terms of total distance to the TaylorMade on average. As we work up, the Elyte LS, not that low spin. I wonder whether in, you know, this is me speculating, but I think in what Callaway have done really well is they've made the head safer, so it hasn't got that real knuckle, you know, falling out the sky, loopy hook from a toe strike on it. But has that robbed it of a little bit of yardage? Ultimately, I think so. I think we've got a more user-friendly head. Is it a little bit more towards the Max from last year? Quite possibly. But if you're going to do that, you're going to lose a bit of distance. And I think that's where this head falls for me with Callaway. Maybe if I went down to the 8-degree head, but then we're not comparing apples with apples. So maybe if I went down in loft, I could gain some of that yardage back, you know, quite probably. But relative to the other heads, not as low spin, a little bit higher launch. We see that at Callaway regularly, but not the longest, but a safe head for a low spin head. So kind of different to last year. And moving up, 440 LST. I'm not going to lie, I'm a little disappointed. I hoped for a little bit more. I think, again, very safe, a little lower launching than some, so it brings the top of the flight down. Very consistent in terms of spin across the face. You felt very solid. Didn't feel quite as easy to find the middle as the Cobra and the Titleist, but you know, sound all around. But that's kind of it. It's you know, for a head that, you know, the LS low spin, we're looking for a bomber out of this head. It gives the low launch, but the spin sits a little higher. So as a result, this is the shortest of these heads. Is it the most stable and the easiest hit straight? Quite possibly, but that's not what we were testing for in this. So it does have a plus point to it, but if you're looking at raw yardage, put this one last. And then the Cobra, which actually felt really solid. Sat a couple of yards behind the Titleist and the TaylorMade, so it comes in close. And I think where the TaylorMade won out on raw yardage, actually the fastest speed I had was with the Cobra head, from a club speed point of view, Cobra and the TaylorMades, and fastest ball speed was with the Cobra, but because it wasn't quite as low spin as the TaylorMade, that's where those shots just ran out that little bit further. If I were to go out and game one tomorrow, I would pick the Cobra or the Titleist. I think both gave me, this is purely personal preference, gave me a feel that I enjoyed more and felt like I could do a little bit more with it, that I could work my way around a golf course better with it. But if we're going purely on yardage, we ignore the feel, it's TaylorMade again. It's a bit of an interesting one, this. I think depending on what you're wanting as a player, are you going to go purely on numbers or are you going to go on feel? And there is a little bit of a discrepancy. So if you're a player that just wants the most yardage, you can find that. It's an obvious statement, but it's whether you want to match a feel that you enjoy with something that bombs. What will be interesting, we will be doing future tests between the core model and the LSs, because potentially a cross-face performance from the core models where you can move the weight forward, take the Cobra and the TaylorMade as examples, does that help get us the best of both worlds? Those videos will follow for sure. But some interesting lessons on this. You know, are they better? Are they longer than last year's models? Maybe not. Some of them that were maybe a little more volatile last year and less consistent had that extra bit of yardage in them. But again, it's that weighing up of what are you looking for? Something that's stable and in play and helps to keep the flight down a bit, or just an all-out yardage machine. So in this test, the QI35 won, just. But from a feel point of view, I'd play another head, and you've got to pick what's more important to you and work with a fitter. You know, they're all dialable in, there's plenty of versatility to all the heads, but it's working out what combination of factors you want from your club and just making sure you're ticking each of those boxes off. There's something out there for everyone, that's for certain. There's a great set of products this year, whether it's the low spin, core model or maximum forgiveness. Some great products. Just make sure you dial it in for every factor and every aspect of the club that you want.